All right, we are live. Will, how's it going, man?
What's up? How you doing? Can
I'm
you hear me
doing.
okay?
I can hear you
Hear me?
fine. Can you hear
Okay.
me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you all right. I turned down my volume. That's why I was like, maybe it's me. But
You
yeah,
were
I'm doing all right.
super quiet there for 1 second, but it has all sorted itself out. I've got you on so many screens right now. This is like the Will and Andrew show on like multiple monitors right now, and I kind of love it. It's been too long, Will. It has been far, far too long.
And we had a lot of holidays.
We had a lot of that's a good way to put it. We had a lot of holidays. Yeah, it's funny. I just had a call this morning with somebody that I was meeting with like probably like once every 2 or 3 weeks in 2023, and then I have just been super busy with teaching, and so I completely forgot to reach out to them, and so I booked a call for today, and I was like, I realized that it's been like 3 months since we connected, and it's also been 3 months since you and I connected, actually. Like,
Wait,
that's
it's been
kind of
that.
wild to me.
Well, to be fair, we do talk outside of this, so it doesn't actually feel that long.
That's
Like,
very
it's
true.
just like, yeah, but yeah, it's been 3 months. Since the last stream, really?
I think so. Maybe. Hold on. YouTube always is willing to tell me, because I upload all these immediate. Well, they're all playing on YouTube, but they'll also be over on YouTube too. So when was the last time that I
Oh, we did one
uploaded?
in December.
We might have.
Oh,
We
you know
might have
what? It's February.
it's
That's
almost
freaking
March. It's
Okay,
almost
all right, never
March.
mind. All right.
When was it? Holy moly! I'm having to dig through here. Where the ones? Oh, October.
Oh,
Where are we?
long?
Oh, I guess it was alive. Would have been alive. I don't like the way that YouTube puts these things up.
Oh, they separated. Yeah, your VODs are separated.
December 6th was our last stream, so we're close to 3 months now.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
That's a long time.
It is.
I didn't realize that. It seems like
It seems like just yesterday.
Well, as they say, time, it goes by faster the older you get. So
maybe
we're just old. That's what it is.
We are. I think that's very true. My wife and I just celebrated our 35th birthdays, like within 6 months of each other, and it was like that moment, that realization that like you're this close to 40, and wanting to kind of like make change, make things happen. I don't know. This is an interesting year for sure for me. What about for you? How's your 2024 going so far?
Well, I haven't turned 35 yet, so it's going well.
There we go. There we
go. I have a few more weeks, and then I'll be right there with you.
But, are you? Is it? Are you coming up to 35 as well?
Yeah, I'll be 35 in April. I think. Yeah. 35 in April. So I have a few more weeks.
I always wondered where all of us like 88, 89 babies landed after the chaos that we've experienced as elder millennials. And it seems like the best of us have ended up in the tech industry doing DevRel, which I kind of love.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah. Other than that, I've been live streaming a lot more, trying to hit my goals for the year. Personal goals, be clear. These are personal goals. I intend to hit them, but if I don't, the only person that'll be upset will be me myself. But yeah, it's just work. I've been busy doing docs, doing some overhauls on docs.
Oof. Fun.
Yeah.
I mean, it's important work. It's important work.
It's very impactful.
Done, right?
Yeah, it needs to get done, and like no one else is doing it, so it's like I'll do it. But it's very tedious.
Mm-hmm.
However, the bright side of it is, this is for other people. A good way to learn about your product is to not just read the docs, but to write the docs, because you're gonna have a lot of questions, and figuring out the answers to those questions is also useful, because no one else has probably done it. So like you're getting answers to these questions and building up more expertise within the system, as well as just latent knowledge that normally only engineers would have. So I'm looking at the bright side to it. So it's like, what, it needs to get done, and I'm getting something out of it, I suppose.
I like it. Yeah, it's funny. I feel like there's always like that one thing that you end up doing at any given period of time, right? You're either doing documentation or streaming and stuff like that. And in general, and in 2024, so our team started doing some upgrades to our onboarding process on DevCycle, so building out a bunch of example applications.
Mhm.
And so it's been awesome because now there's this fantastic framework for demoing the DevCycle implementation in a really, really cool way in a ton of different languages. And so what I love is I've gotten to spend basically since January just like digging into like a ton of different frameworks and languages that I'd never touched before to like recreate these example applications. Like I spent a significant portion of end of January rebuilding. We had like a PHP example app, and I was like, I'm going to rebuild this in every popular PHP framework. So I spent like 2 weeks just like rebuilding this example app, which then showed up in the DevCycle platform for a brief period of time before our engineering team came back and said, Andrew, we can't maintain all of these things.
Well, that you bring up a really good point. That's something that I struggle with. So, I mean, I think we're kind of in the same boat. Both of our respective companies, we have multiple SDKs and we target multiple platforms.
Yeah.
And it's nice to offer your customers an example so that they have something to kind of follow. But with that, it comes to the maintenance part. Like there's a burden that's there, especially with some of the faster moving targets, specifically like the cross-platform tooling, web tooling, because they tend to track other things. And it's this constant, how do I keep this up to date when the rest of the ecosystem or the rest of the platform is moving forward? Like it's not like the good old days where like you can write something and it'll just work forever. Nope. Now it's like you can write something, it works, and then a few months later you come back, nothing's changed, and it doesn't work. That's been 100%. My experience a lot lately, and I'm just curious, like, what are you doing to solve that, or are you not solving it just like me?
I think we're not solving it. I think that well, I think this is it, right? I think this was one of those conversations. Sorry, I'm just fixing my mic.
No worries.
My plan worked only kind of.
Did the zip tie fail?
My zip tie plan. If you
gotta share the engineering behind it.
So if you're watching the stream right now, I gotta say this. So we're having like all these conversations about DevRel. So I've been upgrading my setup because Will's setup is absolutely fantastic. I am just blown away every time I see it. So yesterday, a new setup for my house for my in-home office came through. That's like a dual monitor mount for my laptop and stuff like that. And immediately I was like, I need a thing for my mic. And so when I was walking over here from home, I found that the same company, the Vivo company, makes these like arms and these attachments for your microphone. And I got really excited when I got into the office. I said, I'm going to do this setup for this stream. But then I realized I didn't have all of the things. I don't have the proper mount. So instead, what I'm doing right now is I've got a monitor mount that was just lying in the office here, and I've got like this thing on the end, and I've got my microphone that normally just sits on the desk, but it's a little bit too far away, that I'm now literally zip tying to this monitor mount while I wait, because I'll then need to order the new thing that I need in order to make this happen. But this is I don't know if my plan here was a smart one, but
it doesn't matter. A plan is a plan. Like some people don't even have a plan. Let's be honest. Just having a plan is good.
Committed to this. I'm gonna figure it out. And if it doesn't work, then it will only be on YouTube until I decide to take down the video.
Or you can handhold it. That's what I used to do.
What's that?
You can handhold it. I used to handhold my mic. I have a little baby stand. And it's not I mean, now I have arms, but sometimes I want to change the scenery. So it's like I'll get the little platform desk stand and I'll just hold it. And I feel really special like that. I feel like I'm an MC. Just holding the mic.
So speaking of things that you're kind of holding in your hand in like a different way of computing, I watched your video the other day that you returned the new. So tell me. So I know people. There's a video out there if you're interested in that. But you picked up one of the new Apple Vision Pros, hey?
Yeah. I bought two actually.
Oh, okay.
One was for me to actually do some development type stuff. The other one was for me in 20 years. when it's inevitably worth a lot more money. So it's just like, it's more of an investment. But yeah, like the experience of the Apple Vision Pro is not, it didn't match what I thought it would be. And to be honest, to be fair to Apple, it's not their fault that I had expectations of their product. Right, like
No.
these were my expectations, and when I got the product in hand, a lot of them weren't met. Build quality is amazing. It's a technical marvel. Like it's actually really cool. But to actually use it day in and day out is not very pleasant. There's not much you can really do with it. It's very closed down, locked down kind of thing. More so than your iPhone, which I didn't know could be possible. Yeah. Like here, so with your iPhone, if you are at home, it has the wireless Apple Connect crap, whatever, where you can mount it to your file system. You can see what's on your thing and sync it. That's not available on the Vision Pro. So you have no way of really accessing the file system other than to use iCloud, which means that if you're not paying Apple a monthly fee, you kind of have a nerfed product. Now it does have the Files app, which allows you to connect to servers over AFP or SMB servers, that kind of thing. However, the Wi-Fi is not strong enough to ensure a consistent connection for high bandwidth usage. Like in my case, I have a lot of videos on my NAS, and I would like to be able to watch my videos from my NAS, but I couldn't because it's too much bandwidth. So yeah, it's a lot of paper cuts. So I sent it back. Actually, I sent both back.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I mentioned this in my video where I don't want to send a signal to Apple that this is the right move, and if I keep it, I feel like that's what I'm doing. It's signaling to Apple, hey, yeah, I want this. I want more of this. You should build more of this. And in fact, I want the opposite. Like, it's very rare that I want something to fail. I want this to fail.
Goodness. All right, good to know. Because I have been seeing a lot of people. I mean, obviously it's dissipated. Like Vision Pro came out and then Sora came out and kind of took a lot of the steam away from Vision Pro. But that's good to know. Good.
Yeah, I mean, if you like VR, let's be clear. If you're into VR, it's an amazing device. I wasn't into VR at all. I was just like, typical Apple stan. Maybe Apple can win me over into VR. They can't. I've now learned that VR is I have zero interest. Like when I had zero interest before, now it's like literally zero. I've actually approached the limit of how little interest I have in VR. It takes you completely out of the element. Right, like right now, me and you can talk, and if we ever meet in real life, we can see the same things. We can share experiences. With VR, you can't do that. It's lonely, and there's too much control. Like if I wanted to show or share a video that I'm watching, DRM gets involved, and it will literally censor out the video, so I can't share what I see, which is very I don't know how I feel about that. That goes against one of our amendments here, but companies aren't beholden to that amendment. So yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, I almost had an opportunity to be in your neck of the woods. There was a big conference. So or was it SIBO? Was SIBO Navigate in Florida again this year? Because are you in Florida or Texas?
I'm in Houston, Texas.
You're in Houston, yes. Yeah. Sorry. That conference was in Texas, I'm pretty sure, this year. I think they have one in Texas and then they have one in Wisconsin. That conference.
Which part of Texas?
What? Rockhound.
I don't know where that is. Rockhound?
Me neither. Where is Rockhound, Texas? This is a conference that I've wanted to go to for a while, but it's Rockhound, Texas. But it's expensive. Where are you, Rockhound, Texas? Come on.
No, I know of Round Rock. That's north of Austin. I've never heard of Rock. You said Rock Round?
Round Rock, Texas.
Oh, if it's Round Rock, that's Austin. That's Austin area.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah, that's north of Austin.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, if you end up doing it, I just let me know in advance. I can drive up, or it's not that bad.
How far is Houston from?
Houston from Austin is about 2.5 hours. From where I am in Houston to Austin is closer to 3, and to get to Round Rock it'd probably be about 3.5 hours.
There you go. Good to know.
Yeah. Most of it is just Most of it is in between the cities, but Austin has a lot of traffic, especially because they've been building a lot of things. So once you get to Austin, it could take another 30 to 40 minutes, even though it's a very small place.
Yeah.
Their infrastructure is quite bad. It's actually hilarious how bad it is. People think that's a city. I'm just like, huh. It's funny. It's funny.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's funny, these like small cities that not great infrastructure just ends up meaning that you're constantly traveling. I live in a tiny city on the West Coast, but it takes you like 40 minutes to get anywhere in the city. It's kind of
Is it because of traffic?
It's just because like when they built the city, they designed it for a really small population. Like we're on an island on the West Coast. Like they never intended for this to have a huge population, but this has become like a retirement spot from folks from Seattle, for folks from Vancouver, from Washington State, California. And so like Victoria's got it's like more dense than Toronto, which is like a very dense Canadian city. And so it's just like, it's gotten so packed and so full of people that the old infrastructure, which really hasn't changed, can't handle the amount of cars that are there. And so you've got like, whereas the number of stoplights and things that they had before were fine if you had small numbers of cars because you could get through them. But now when you've got lots of cars, it takes you like 20 minutes to get through downtown. Yeah, it's kind of ridiculous. But and then also the city invested a lot in biking infrastructure. So like they removed a lot of extra lanes and parking areas so that there could be more, it could be a more bikeable city. So again, making it even worse to drive in. Yeah, it's super interesting, these cities that are like well-known, popular cities, but just terrible for actually getting through.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, if you live there, and maybe you don't really need to drive. I don't know. True. I live in Houston, and I rarely. I mean, I have a car, obviously, but like, I don't drive as much as I used to, and I mostly just stay in my little one like, what is it? Not square mile, but like a radius of a mile. Like I don't really go out that far, which makes life a lot easier. If I had to like actually go out into the city, oh my gosh, I can't even imagine that. Because it takes over an hour to get from one side of the city to the other side here in Houston, and traffic is insane. We also have a lot of people coming. Except our city was built for no cars and stuff, but even then, it doesn't matter. We have a highway. I think it's I-10. It's 24 or 28 lanes.
That's insane. I'll
send you a picture one day. Please do. It's just like you see it and it's just full of traffic. You're just like, what is this? So it's like it's just this fallacy, or I don't know if it's a fallacy, but it's this common misconception that if you add more lanes, that it will reduce traffic, and it actually doesn't have that effect. Turns out that if you increase the flow of anything, like if you increase the amount of space, or let's just call it pressure, things from high pressure will automatically go in to fill that void. So what you end up having is just more usage.
It's so true, right? There's some solid like civil engineering that should have solved that problem, though. You'd think with the amount of school that civil engineers go through, that they would have been able to figure this stuff out.
Nah, I can't say that. Here's why. Isaac Newton, the guy who created calculus, he also he invested in the stock market at some point. He didn't do very well. He did okay. He didn't do very well. And one of his thoughts was like, I can predict or I can calculate the motions of the like heavenly bodies, in the universe, but I can't reason about the madness of humans. Where it's just like, at the end of the day, civil engineering is building infrastructure, but it's humans, it's us who determine whether or not we'll use it or not, and we're not rational. So True. You can't, it makes a lot of sense that, we should be able to plan for these things, but nah.
Yeah,
the older I get, the more I'm like, it's I'm amazed that anything that we have works. That's where I'm at now. Where it's just like just think about like right now, right? Like you needed a way to hold your microphone up, and it's being held up right now.
It is.
It was crazy is that like this is how a lot of companies and a lot of societies work. It's just like if you actually start to uncover a lot of the things, you realize it's like, oh wow, things are very fragile. I'm amazed that this works.
Yeah, you're not wrong. It's funny, like even in the software world, and maybe that'll kind of bring us like back into the fold. I love catching up, and I hope people are watching and enjoying it too. But I find building software is very interesting. I think when I used software before I started building software, I had this assumption that you really needed to know what you were doing to like get a web application working functionally. But now, having released a couple of pieces of software, and they're buggy as all hell, but like the end user wouldn't really see those bugs. Like, and as long as they're not major things that impact their user experience, like it works, but it's kind of held together by like duct tape code in a lot of cases. Like I had this interesting situation last night where I added some new columns to a database table that I set not to be like, I didn't set a default value for them, which was a dumb decision. When I had new users created, I create them in two ways. One of them is through like a Google authorization, and the other one is through like an email authentication. Mm-hmm. And my actual process of creating like a team or a group in there, I hadn't realized I'd only done it in one of them and not in the other. And so like half the users were able to sign up to the platform and use it, no problem at all. And the other half, I'd been getting sign up notifications, but like nobody had been able to access the platform, and I didn't have any good like error reporting set up. So it wasn't until somebody reached out and said like, hey, like, can you figure out what's going on here for me, that I realized that it was actually a problem. And it was like, I spent 10 minutes, didn't do any tests or anything like that, and just like implemented a change that I knew would solve the problem. And I know it's not good engineering, but I feel like there's a lot of platforms that are out there that are kind of operating this way. It's like, will not focus on a lot of these pieces until there's a problem.
Here's a hot take. I'm going to go out and say most things don't require engineering.
Ooh, okay, why?
Well, like, let's think about it. Like, for instance, if someone's going to use it, how many people are actually using it? Is it mission critical? Is someone's life going to be ruined if things go wrong? Yeah. Like, are people not going to be able to get their job done? And most of the time, the answer is no, which is why I'm like, no. It's a lot of times you don't really have to invest in engineering for most things. Now, when you're talking about operating a scale, then of course engineering becomes more of a thing that you have to care about. Yeah. But I think we inherently know this. When you start a project, oftentimes you will do something like, I'm assuming you're in JavaScript land. Let's say you're just going to do some console log statements when something goes wrong.
Yeah.
If engineering were important, you would never do that.
True.
Because it's just like, all right, well, when this is running on some other computer, where's that log statement going to go? Is it actually going to get flushed to the disk where you can actually go and read it? Probably not. And there's a lot of things, or let's say, there's an actual error and there's a stack trace, and maybe there's some confidential stuff that could be leaked in that stack trace. But these are things that like most people are just like, it doesn't matter. And to me, that tells me that they don't require the engineering for that, because if you needed the engineering, then these things would matter, but they don't. So
True. All right. I think it is a hot and true take.
I think it's more of a pragmatic take, where it's just like, get something working and then do engineering.
Yes.
When you solve the problem, because that's the thing that actually matters. Like, no one really cares about, I have my code working. It's like, no one cares. It's like, does this solve my problem? And not just that it solves my problem, does it make my life easier? Because you can solve my problem in a more convoluted way. I don't care about your solution at that point, because it's too much effort.
Yeah, absolutely. I also feel like it's so interesting. I keep hearing about and by the way, hey Casual, you're not seeing chat. You might be seeing chat actually.
Oh, I wasn't watching. I'm looking
in
at
StreamYard. No, Casual just popped in over on YouTube.
Oh yeah,
said, hey.
Yeah. What's up? Wait, yeah. What's up, Casual Comics? How you doing?
But I keep hearing about people like, oh yeah, I got a bunch of friends and we started a company and then we figured out our product. And I'm like, that's a terrible idea. Like you should have had a problem and then you got together because you were all having the same problem, or you all had an idea around that problem space. And then you like build something from there. The idea of just like building a company and then figuring out a product later has never appealed to me. I want to solve like a problem for myself that hopefully some other person has had in the world. And I feel like that is the way to build effective software.
I don't disagree. However, I don't think that startups have the same goals in mind as someone who's building a piece of software.
True.
So
True.
it's like, I understand why because I had a little thing going at one point where it's like you start off doing one thing because you think that there is a need or a market for it, and maybe there is, but then you learn the very valuable lesson that just because there is a need for it doesn't mean people are willing to pay for a solution.
Yes.
So then you get to like, what do you all do? Do you all just give up, throw in the towel, or do you say, all right, well, let's figure out something that we can do? So I look at startups as more of like problem finding. Like it's looking for a problem where your solution can have product market fit, and not necessarily like let's just go start, like, let's go solve this one problem and we know for sure that this is a problem. Some people, I think some problems are that, where we know that's a problem and we know that people are willing to pay for the solution. But yeah, I want to give a little bit of
I would agree there. If you're going into it from that perspective of you are a set of problem finders and you will find a problem. But that's an interesting take.
To be fair to your point though, most startups fail, so you can't be wrong. You can't be wrong. Empirically, we see that most fail, and what that tells me is that maybe that's not the best way to go about building a company, is to like create a solution and then go search for problems that fit your solution.
I have a colleague, or a friend colleague from a previous life that we've been playing around with this idea of building something, and the initial idea was something called Problem Hunt. So this will go live, so I can get the cred here. And so the idea here was, think of Product Hunt, right? So like you go on and you're looking for a new tool. So what if you could kind of do that for a problem? So you're an individual user and you have you need a problem, right, solved. And so you would go in, it's basically like a Google prompt where you go in and you type in, here's your problem. And then it's going to pop out a bunch of different companies that are solving your problem. And then on the other side, you have companies who are looking for beta testers for a platform, or they're just looking to see if they have product market fit. They don't need a product. They just need to say, I'm building a product that solves this problem. And it's basically like a matchmaking algorithm for people that are looking for solutions to get in at like the base level and get like early access, like lifetime discounts, like become beta testers, alpha testers, early access users. And then for the companies to basically be able to use this of like, I had 100 people sign up on this platform within this amount of time to say that they were interested in this problem. And I want to go from there. And I talked to a bunch of founders and they're like, oh, this is an amazing idea. But then you talk to other founders and they're like, yeah, but how do you get everybody asking the right problem the right way? And people don't know what problems they have, and they don't know that they're looking for a solution.
That's a big one right there.
Right? Yeah. And so like we've had to pivot, and we've gone through a number of iterations of like, okay, what's like a piece of Problem Hunt that you can take that like gives you something close to that. But yeah, and but that's just it, right? It's like, thought there was a market, not a market there. So now it's needing to pivot and sort of find something slightly different that uses the same code.
It seems like it's more of a learning thing, right? Where I think it's a good idea. And it seems like it's marketing. Like that's the biggest problem that a lot of people face is, I built this thing. Well, nobody knows about their thing. So it's just like, how do you put it out there? This could solve for that. But I think it's still worth doing just to learn, right? Like, sure, it may, I don't know if you've actually concluded that it's a bad idea, but let's.
I'm not sure what you want me to change.
Alexa's listening.
It's Siri. I don't even know. I'm going to get rid of these things, by the way, like unrelated, because it happens often. It annoys me, and it gives me no value other than I can turn my lights on and off without going to my phone. That's literally what I use these home pods for, is to turn lights on and off. And set a timer. I'll have to set a timer. But yeah, anyway, so getting back to the point, which can you remind me where I left off before I got distracted?
Yeah, you were just saying that you concluded that it's a bad idea.
Oh yeah. So assuming that you haven't concluded that it's a bad idea, I still think that it's worth going through the motions and seeing the types of problems that people are putting on there, just to kind of understand how do people think about their problems and how do they attempt to articulate their problems. And when you see enough of them, I'm sure you'll be left with questions like, all right, well, like, yeah, here's this thing. If you can do a synthesis of it, where you start to look at what's common with problem statements that don't give you enough information, and then you can start to build up. All right, we know that we need to have these types of things. Maybe you can build product to kind of drive people into giving those types of responses. I find that anytime you give a person a blank text box, most people just. Yeah,
it's the blank page problem, right? Like, people don't know what to put in, or they put in anything that they can think of. You're not wrong.
Yeah, it's weird how people approach, or when they look at anything blank. To me, I look at it as like, that's the best thing. Like, I don't have to worry about anything else. I could just like put thoughts. But I do understand that that's just me, and maybe a few other people who are like me. I think most people are afraid of blank pages, so you may have to do a little bit more hand holding. Like, here's a good whatever, like a good problem statement or piece of a problem statement. Let people put in whatever words that don't really make sense, and then you can put in some type of LLM or something, and maybe turn it into something usable.
Thank you, ChatGPT. I have a friend. I know. Don't worry if you're watching, folks. We're going to get to some coding in a minute, but these are great conversations to have. I have a colleague who's created it's called Timely Graders. So it's like a virtual TA for university instructors. So you put in like an assignment. And then this TA basically will spit out some, like, based on the rubric that you put in, here's where I think this learner is at, and here's some feedback to provide. And I'm like, all of these tools that are coming out in the past like 6 months that are all just year, I guess, that are all just like different front ends for OpenAI.
Well, yeah, some of those companies, they're in trouble. The ones who are only doing that, and they don't really have any real expertise in it, other than I can call an API, they're in real trouble. They're going to have their lunch taken, which that's them. That's fine.
Part of the journey, I guess, eh?
Yeah, maybe. It would be nice if that journey didn't result in billions of dollars of lost economic opportunity.
True.
And now I'm actually of the impression, and this is kind of, maybe it's a side tangent. I don't know how your audience feels about this kind of stuff, but like, if they want to see more code, if they want to see coding, we can jump into that now.
No. We'll do this. We'll jump. Yeah, no, I think let's keep talking. We'll jump into some code in a minute.
Yeah, I'm of the opinion that coding is not. Do people actually find it entertaining?
I think so.
They do.
I mean, right. I think it's the people, and it's the code. It's seeing the creative journey, seeing other people struggle with things that you struggle with. Okay. It's a good question. I don't know.
All right. Well, yeah. I mean, I would like to know from whoever is watching. But yeah, I don't really know where I was going to go with that. It's probably not that important. It is important in life. And what I mean is that, like, kids today are using these AI tools, and they don't really know anything. They're just accepting what's being given. And the more and more we use these tools to make decisions on what to do and what to do to humans, or what to do about humans, or anything, we're setting. I don't know. It seems a little bit dangerous. It seems what's the word, like, it's not dumb, but it's the other one where it's like you don't know any better. It's almost naive. Yeah, where, if we continue to let machines make these decisions, humans aren't going to be good at making these decisions. So we need a human to make a decision. We're not going to have it. And I think that we're going to see lower quality of things over the next 10 to 20 years as a result.
You think so?
Like, yeah, I think we'll see more things, but I think the quality of them will go down. I mean, it's already happened. Like, think about all of the widgets that we have now. Most of it is
True.
cheap crap. None of them is really very valuable. A lot of the engineering that we used to put into products, not the case anymore. Now things have a shelf life of it's going to last you until the next version of the product.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely agree with you in some aspects. This was similar conversations. I did my class this past Friday because I teach at the university 1 day a week, was on AI and using it. And so I really focused on less on the ethical side of things and more on here's how this actually works, and like helping these teachers understand, like, here's what AI is actually. It's just a really good at recognizing patterns. That's all it is. And like really what we're seeing is the amalgamation of, if you put it in enough data points, you're going to get something that looks close to the mean that what you would expect to see, but just because it's there doesn't mean it's good.
Is that why it's so bad? It's because you said something. It's like it's going to return because it's all probability, right? It's going to regress to like whatever the mean is.
Exactly.
So what happens if you are like, let's assume we're all on a normal curve. What happens if you're to the right of the mean? Which, I mean, that's me. That's me. So when I look at all of the outputs that are coming from it, I'm like, this is very bad. But just due to the nature of how normal distributions work, like there are less people to the right than there are going to the left. So it's like if we get critical, like critical acceptance of this thing, because most people are like, oh, this is really good, but it's not. And I don't know. I have kind of an issue with it a little bit.
No, I think you make like super valid points, and I think, honestly, even just having the conversation, I feel like this is the piece. And at the end of the day, there always needs to be a human in there. Like, great, use the tools. If they make your life slightly easier so that you can focus on the high level things, that's great. But it's when you start to use these tools and this knowledge as like the end result. It's like you put in a prompt, you get the result. There's no critical thinking that goes into it afterwards. There's no additions that you add to it. I think that's really where the use of AI becomes challenging, when you're not able to add a critical eye to the output or to the input. Really.
And that is, I can't talk for your country because I'm not there, but here, I don't think that we focus as much on critical thinking skills and developing those as much as we used to, which is what scares me, is because it's the confluence of these two things. It's like we already have people who don't use critical thinking and who don't know basic facts. And then we have AI coming in that's saying, oh yeah, like we have basic facts and we present this information, but you put the two together, this thing is giving you something as if it's true and not giving you any indication that it's made up BS. And then you have this person who's not going to critically think about what they see in front of them and just, oh yeah, this is it. And they're going to make a decision based off of that. Yep. And decisions compound. Oh, yeah. Unfortunately, nothing happens in a vacuum. So if you make one decision, that means that other decisions may have been made on top of that decision, which means that eventually we don't know how this thing is going to explode.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it was interesting describing, I think there was an article that came out recently talking about how if we're not like the data set, and I think you kind of referenced this before, right? If we start feeding AI generated data into AI as part of the training process, then we end up getting this like dumber and dumber and dumber response that's there, right? So early implementations that were trained.
Have you noticed that it was better a year and a half ago?
It was, well, certain parts of it were. I definitely find parts of it were. I don't know. I don't think I've actually noticed that it's gotten worse, but I'm getting better with it. Like I'm using it in a smarter way, I think now. Like I'm not taking things at face value anymore, if that makes sense.
It does. I had a rant about it I don't know, like 8 months ago, or maybe it was a year ago, I don't remember, where it was just like I noticed like a markedly inferior result set. And there's actually research papers on it that measure it empirically and show that it's measurably worse. And it happened after they started charging for it, which is interesting. So I've been paying for OpenAI's chat stuff since it came out, and I've been paying for OpenAI's API stuff since, I don't know, like 2 or 3 years ago. I don't remember. And like even the API stuff is objectively worse, to the point where I'm now running my models locally. Where
Really?
It's just like, yeah, because I don't like being told we can't do that. Like we can't perform this type of action or whatever. I had one where I had a magazine cover and I wanted to know who these people were. And I was like, oh, yeah, I'll try to use vision. I throw it in there. It's like, we can't identify people. I'm just like, okay, Google can do that though. Like just Google search.
Yeah.
Like Google image search. I'm like, it can do that. So what I'm seeing is that certain people who have certain beliefs and ideals that may not align with the rest of the world are making decisions about what's appropriate and not appropriate. And I think we're starting to see that actually come to a head now, where if you try to get Google's Gemini to output anything, it won't. It's actually kind of funny to me, where it's just like the smartest people on earth, or at least people who think they're so smart, this is the best that they can do. It's this with billions of dollars and like hundreds of billions of dollars worth of capital at their disposal. This is the best they can come up with.
Scary.
Yeah, and we're looking to make decisions based off of that. That's what's scary to me. It's not that the stuff is so bad. It's that the stuff is so bad and people are still willing to use this to make decisions about what to do in life.
Yeah, critical thinking is like going to become a superpower. I still think, like, as a classroom trained teacher, I think the core skill that you can teach in kindergarten through 12, people can learn almost any subject on their own now if they want to and they're intrinsically motivated. It is really hard, especially when your brain is developing, to learn critical thinking skills. So like if all that we did for like 12 years was helped young people develop critical thinking skills, I think the world would be a much stronger place, and maybe math scores would go down and science scores would go down. But we would have a much richer, more intelligent society, I think.
I don't know. Like, I feel like I shouldn't disagree, but I disagree. Here's why. If you have people who are that way, who are independently thinking and critically thinking, they can't be controlled. And like, it goes against, we need a certain level of controllability, I suppose. I'm saying that is, I don't know if I believe it. I'm just saying that because we're live.
Yeah, that's fair. So
it's like,
okay,
I look at it as more of a conspiratorial type of thing, where it's like, maybe that's maybe we don't want critical thinking because it could lead to people saying no to certain things that certain other like larger institutions may not want people saying no to.
Fair enough. We've gotten very like philosophical in this. I love this.
I mean, that's fine. Like, I'm here for anything. We can code, we can talk about the news, we can talk about AI.
I feel like we do it all. I actually have an idea, because hopefully we're gonna keep doing these streams this year.
I mean, I assumed we would just kind of keep doing stuff.
And I was thinking, because I was like, okay, last year was kind of all about just like exploring these two platforms, and we kind of talked earlier about like we should build something, and I feel like the problem is like we were trying to like stick round peg in square hole. It was like, let's create an app that uses DevCycle and uses OneSignal. And I feel like that was kind of like a little bit nebulous. I feel like there's a thing here where I think it would just be interesting to build something that we're interested in. And then let's see how these tools integrate into there. Let's see how feature flags as part of that process work. Let's see how utilizing OneSignal fits into this process. But let's like create something valuable for the world out of these streams. Let's like make something cool that solves a problem. And see how our technology, I think that's why people should the whole idea of people using feature flags, using sort of OneSignal and DevCycle is all about sort of like it solving a problem for you within your existing app that solves a problem for others. So what do you think?
I mean, I think that's a good idea. There are some, I mean, I don't know if we could like I have my project that I am working on, which could use it. I'm not sure if you know much about that. But then there's also open source projects that we
Exactly.
could just add it into.
I love
That's
that.
like more of a reference implementation.
I think that's cool. I think that's a cool idea, and like we can contribute to another open source project as well. Like, is that what you're thinking? Are you thinking of like
yeah, something like
contributing, or are
that.
you thinking of like forking something and then seeing how it works?
I would fork it,
Let's do
and
it.
we could we can optionally submit a PR based off of whatever changes that we think we want to submit back upstream. But I mean, a lot of thought would have to be paid, or a lot of thought would have to be put into like how it fits into the product, because one of the things that I don't know if a lot of people are aware of, but with open source projects, typically there's like a prioritized list of things or features or whatever, or vision that the people who are just using it may not be privy to. And a lot of care is just generally put into like, when we add something new, how does this vibe with the vision?
Yeah.
Right. So for instance, let's say we were to use GitHub Desktop, which does use feature flagging, but it's it's made in-house essentially. It's just if checks. It's just like, let's say that we were to rip that out and then put in this here. Well, we would have to ask the question, and I kind of already know the answer, but like we would have to ask the question, like, does the desktop team, like, is this something that they want to take on? Because any change that we submit, this is maintained, like it's burden to maintain, kind of like how we started out. Like at the end of the day, we're not the one maintaining that code. It's going to be the maintainer. So we'd have to make sure that whatever we do, if we do go that route, that we're aligning with what they want. So it may be worth doing is reaching out to them first. Like we compile like a short list of potential projects that we want to, I don't know, see about, and ask the maintainers, how do they feel about us doing this type of thing, and if they would be willing to incorporate it into their product.
I like it.
That's a much tougher conversation, that second part, but
it is. But okay, so here, so counter. So I love that. I think that's very true. Counter, we could look at open source frameworks that implement plugins. This is something I've been doing a lot with DevCycle. So look at like a framework. So for example, do you know Eleventy? Have you heard of that before? It's like a static site generation platform. Kind of like Gatsby and Jekyll and stuff like this, but they have a very rich plugin ecosystem that like you can develop plugins that end users can decide to go and add into their existing project, just sort of as an NPM package or a composer package or whatever. And so we could kind of focus on an open source project that has a rich plugin ecosystem, build in some of these plugins that other folks could then kind of use down the road. And then we're not actually asking for it to be implemented necessarily into the whole open source project. We're just kind of saying, hey, community that exists out there, here is a very cool extension that allows for you to use OneSignal, to use DevCycle within your tooling.
Yeah, I like that. Let's just go with that. Let's I feel like let's just go with that. I think that's good enough, where we find something and see what we can do. A lot of this, I think, it's just show people the thing, and let them decide for themselves. I've had a lot of luck with that, I guess, with garnering interest in things simply by just showing it.
Same. I feel like people don't know what they don't know, right? So it's showing them what it's all about. So, all right, I'm gonna get a screen share up here. We won't necessarily look at any of our code.
Some characters.
Let's go. All right, let's go. Which screen am I gonna go? I'm gonna go on this screen for right now. So then I can still look over here. All right.
It's a beautiful picture.
It is a beautiful picture. I think I've said this to you before. I've definitely said it to others. I am in love with Mac actually all of the platform's background games over the past few years. Mac Mac, Windows, but honestly, like Chrome OS, I'm a big fan of Chrome OS, and like they have done an exceptional job at their backgrounds as well. But I need to get a screen up here. Where's my DevCycle screen right now? Oh, I'm using my DevCycle screen, that's why. Where are you? All right, let's pull you over here. Let's head over to GitHub. And actually, I mean, do we want to start with GitHub? We could look at frameworks. So look at that one. Yeah, where do we want to start? Like, what do we want to start with when we're trying to find a project?
There should be a explore repositories. We had it that a while ago. Scroll down. No, like outside of that, and then scroll down, go back up. It's on the right hand side.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
Yep.
So these are based off of what it's known about you and the types of things that you've done that you may be interested in.
Okay.
So, different people are going to see different things. That's why I'm saying it that way.
Yeah, you can definitely tell the things that I'm seeing that I have looked into. I feel like what will we actually find in here? Yeah, definitely been doing a lot of Laravel stuff's going to pop up here. Front-end dev bookmarks, Django. Yeah, there's not very many. What's trending right now? Maybe that's a better idea.
Open source applications. I don't know if this is an open source application, but there's LM Studio is a thing. Because we probably want something that's an actual application, maybe.
What's LM Studio?
It is
So is this what you're using to run the models locally on your device?
This is what I'm using to test models easily without having to go to Hugging Face.
Interesting. How much is this really hard on your machine? I know you're running a pretty powerful rig, but
Yeah.
This has got to kill your device.
Yeah, there are certain models that I can't run right now. So this is what's driving. There's two other things, but this is the primary thing driving my decision to upgrade my Mac Studio to the M3 Ultra and get 256 gigabytes of RAM.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
that just seems extreme.
The RAM usage is quite high. So I forget which model it was, but the 7 billion parameter model, even that wouldn't fit in RAM for me.
That's wild. Let's see. Are you open source?
Yeah, it may not be open source. I thought it would be here, but maybe not.
Awesome LM Studio. Let's see. Videos, models, tutorials. Yeah, just explain integrations.
There's another application, and it might. Is this a free application? Hold on, give me a second. Yeah, this could be a free one. Look for Sloth.
Mac app.
Yeah.
Is this one?
Yeah, that one. Yes. So have you ever used the LSF command?
I have not.
Okay, so it's basically LSF, and it gives you a nice little user interface of which to do it. LSF shows you all of your open ports and sockets are open. Everything in Unix is a file. Let's be clear. So it technically is all open files, but for what we're going to do, it's all like ports, network sockets, processes, that kind of thing, and where they're connected to. It's useful for folks like me who do a lot of having to do networks type stuff and understand what's happening. So this could be a potential thing because I want to say that the project is open source. Hopefully, maybe
it looks like it. Yep.
It was.
Yep, it is.
Let's see. So yeah. So this could be an option.
Okay, let's add this to the list. Let's add this to get a Notion doc going over here, and then to it. New page. Can I drag you without showing you to everybody? Let's call this Codelaboration page. Add to growth. Let's add that there. Create bookmark. There we go. Now I'll pull this over. Oh, there we go. All right, so we got that added into there. So project options, but do they have like this? This would they don't have an extension ecosystem, right? This would be like into the actual project itself, right?
I don't know if they have extensions. I've never actually looked to even see.
That's fine.
But maybe they don't. I know. All right, so there's a tool called Table Plus. I think I don't know if they're extensions, but they're plugins.
Plugins, that's fine. Yeah.
Okay.
Mac
Oh,
OS
but this
issue
is just
tracker?
an issue tracker, so it's not open source, so we couldn't use this.
Yeah, it is. It's open source.
I
See.
Yeah, they're using a
Oh,
tracker.
I don't like this. I think this is so silly. Wait, hold on. Table plus Linux. Oh, Linux issue tracker, iOS issue tracker. Like, just open source at this point. That's silly.
Well, I can understand why. It takes a lot of
I
so open source, and this we're going back into philosophy. It's not just about having the source code be open. I think a lot of people fall into that trap where like, oh, it's open source. That doesn't mean open source. It has to do with the community aspect as well. So let's say they did make it public. Like if they have zero intentions of taking direction from the community, then it's just noise that developers have to deal with. Or there might be certain things that because they didn't think it would be open source, like you can't just publish the code because there are things that are in the code that may be sensitive to your business. And
True.
In order to make it open sourceable, that requires a lot of effort and getting it ready for that. So even with GitHub Desktop, when we first started working on desktop, it wasn't open source. We of course we built it with the intent to eventually open source it, which made it a lot easier. But before we open sourced it, we actually had to go through like an audit to make sure that there wasn't anything that we'd be exposing. And that process took over a month and a half, where we're actually like prepping to get this ready to open source. Make sure licenses are proper, because if you're using other things, it matters, right? So I can understand why this person who was a kid in college who built this thing by himself, I can understand why he doesn't
That's fair.
Make it open source.
So speaking of open source stuff, just as we're exploring this, so have you heard of N8N before?
I have heard of them, yes.
Yeah, so if you're watching and you haven't heard of them, they're kind of like a Zapier alternative. It's just like an automation.
Let's just do this. Why wouldn't we? Because this fits literally what you're saying. Like you want to plug in ecosystem.
It does. But hold on, I don't want to lose this thought. So they came out a little while ago with their own license called the Sustainable Use License. So they basically have been open source forever. They were an MIT license, and they had a bunch of folks that were kind of coming in and wanting to make money off of like hosting their own version of N8N. So they would just like fork it, rename it, and then make money off it. So they created this license, which is now kind of the part of the fair code licensing world, which basically says if you're an individual or an educational institution or anybody like that, you can use this to your heart's content. If you're a company, you cannot make money off of this. Individual, fine. Business, no. And I just they released a video and a whole bunch of other stuff. But honestly, I love this idea of free to use and can be distributed, source code available, extended by anybody, but is commercially restricted. It's kind of I feel like this is what a lot of open source should be. But then if you look at the conversation that happened when they released this license, the open source community just was rabid, and they were like, this is a terrible idea. This is not the true open source thing. And I was just like, really?
Well, they're right.
They are, but
and I might come off as one of those, mainly because my introduction to open source was through the most, some people call him deranged. Gosh, what's his name? Richard Stallman. So he spoke at my school when I was a junior, and that's how I was introduced to this whole concept of open source. And to this day, my definition is the definition that, I think he's the guy who's literally behind all of this whole movement. It's not about freedom of cost, it's freedom of use. So if you have something that you're saying is open source, you don't get the right to tell me what I can do with my code on my computer, right? Like if you look at it as speech, you don't get the right to tell me what I can and can't say, or what I can and can't do. So it's like, I understand why the people who are like, it's not open source, because they're right. It's technically not open source, but I think this is still in good faith. I'm not dogmatic about it, but
That's true.
I can understand where they're coming from.
You make a good point. It's kind of like you have free speech and then you have fair speech, right? And I think that's very true, right? Like free speech means you can say whatever you want to say, but just because you can say it doesn't mean you should in every situation. And so there should be a thing for the people that are wanting to define some bounds around that, but then there's also the need for both. I'll give you that. Anyways, but that's kind of how I discovered N8N. I just don't know how these two. Well, yeah, maybe we do something. We'll add it to the list. We'll add it to the list of kind of things to investigate. What else? What else do you got, Will? What else? What other projects do you have that might be a good fit for something like this?
Like, I have my own thing that I'm working on.
All right,
my little Slack bot.
Is it open source?
No, it's not open source. I don't think it would be either. It's
no.
I don't think so. Maybe because again, like it's like when you I don't know. I have standards. That's what it is. I'm unwilling to put anything out there that like is going to reflect on me. And the code, like I'm not putting that much effort into the code. There is no documentation. If people have questions, I won't answer them. It's just like straight up, like I have other things. So it's just like, if someone's like, oh, I'm trying to use this thing and it's not working for me. It's like, well, it was never intended to work for you. But why would I go through the effort of doing all this to put it out there and then just to tell this person, yeah, like,
That's fair. That's
so,
fair.
Yeah, it's a lot. That's what I mean. Like, it's a lot to making a project. And I don't think a lot of people realize, like, it's not just code. There's so much more that goes beyond just the coding part, where it's like the infrastructure matters as well. And let's say you make something open and someone wants to use whatever their infrastructure is.
Yeah.
It's just whose responsibility is it to support that? They may think that it's a maintainer, but as a former maintainer, I would say that's not, but yeah, I don't actually have any like other like open source things that could benefit from this. Or maybe I do. Give me a second.
Yeah, it's good to you look through that. I'm actually looking through. I haven't looked through my bookmarks on or like my starred repositories in a while. So just like looking through to see what I've got in my starred repository, see if there's any cool things in there that might be a good fit.
How does Obsidian sound? Could we do anything with that?
Ooh, Obsidian would be fun. That's a good call. Obsidian. They definitely have an extension. Obsidian. Yes.
Yeah, we could figure out what we could do later. Just come
they definitely have a rich plugin ecosystem. That's a cool idea. Okay, I like that. I actually have been wanting to play around. I introduced the students to Obsidian as like a note-taking tool a while ago, and I haven't played around with it since like I think I downloaded it when it first came out, and then never really did anything with it. Do you use it extensively or just?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do. I'm trying to get it more organized. I spent some time last week getting it a little bit better. I have this thing about owning all of my stuff.
That's fair.
And maybe this is going back to the open source version of me, but it's just like, if all these companies want me to use their infrastructure so bad to put my data and content on it, it must be valuable. And that makes me not want to give it to them. So I'm very big on owning all of my own stuff.
True. That's fair. I think that's very fair. I still struggle to see why anybody would want to host on some of these large infrastructures. Not that I really want to go and like spin up my own servers, but I very much feel you on the owning your own data, or at least like knowing where your data is and value for money.
Well, not just knowing, like I want to be able to access it.
I agree.
When I want to, and
Yeah.
not have to jump through hoops. It shouldn't feel like the bank where it's like I'm having
Yes.
to ask you for permission to get my money. It's like
It's true. I have a project that I host with a basically a front end for AWS, and I love it. It's an amazing platform. But one of the downsides is you have to pay for the top tier to be able to access your MySQL database. So like I can't remote into my MySQL database if I want to control it with like a GUI instead of doing it through the terminal, unless I pay like double the regular price to host it. And I've always thought, and yet I have like a shared hosting server that I know there's a million sites that are also hosted on this shared hosting server, but like it's hosted in Canada. I can access everything. I don't need to ask for permission to access really any of the data that's there. And it's always kind of shocked me that for like some of these more advanced hosting services that you actually get less access to things, right? I don't know. Is that kind of what you meant?
well, yeah, a lot. Yes, that and that and more. Let's just say that and more. It again, I'm a lot of what I think is colored by the fact that I listened to open source for a while. So it's like I have very strong thoughts. I keep them to myself these days, but I still have very strong opinions when it comes to this kind of stuff, especially when I see companies exploiting open source projects. It's just like your whole product is built on these 3 open source projects, and I can see that you're not a sponsor of these 3 individuals whose work you depend on.
You're using, yeah,
that's a big one for me.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I think Obsidian could be nice.
I think Obsidian could be nice too. So I like right now, I feel like of the 3 that we have on the list here, Sloth is a good option, but I think we would be basically looking to do a PR within the platform. I think N8N would be cool because we're basically building not a node that is going to talk to either the DevCycle platform or is going to talk to the OneSignal platform. So that's kind of cool. And then I think Obsidian is definitely one, like they've got a rich ecosystem. I think it's going to be a little bit more challenging to figure out what we would do, but I'm personally interested in exploring Obsidian a bit more. So this might be my excuse to explore, like which of these appeals more to you, Obsidian or N8N?
I would say Obsidian because I actually use it.
Okay, let's play with Obsidian. I think that's a great idea. Let's figure out how or where, and maybe it's just building like an interface to interact with these platforms. I don't know, but I think there's definitely something there. So, all right, so let's do that. I'm going to put these as background options in case Obsidian goes wrong. Not that I think it will.
Can you go back to that to the page behind it and scroll down? I want to see if there's like a developer anything in here. No, well, I get maybe go to community. At the top.
I think that's where I am. Oh no. Obsidian Hub, Obsidian plugin stats.
Developers.
Ooh.
You see at the bottom.
Oh, there we go. Developers. Yeah, there we go. Build your first plugin. Look at that. I love it.
Right. Can you click on that? I want to see like what is it? What's required? So Git, Node, and it's JavaScript. Oh, that's interesting. They use Svelte. Oh, or React. Okay, we can use Svelte or React.
I would love to use Svelte Kit.
Same here. Yeah, I don't think this is Svelte Kit. Svelte Kit is different.
Just Svelte. But yes, I'm game to use Svelte. That's awesome.
Yeah, same
where
here.
Where are you seeing that? Are you reading that elsewhere?
The left-hand side on the.
I
read docs a little bit weirdly because I
No, I don't think you're reading them wrong. I think you're reading them absolutely.
No, I said weirdly. Whereas like I know some people they'll like just kind of. I like to get an overview of like what's on the page, like and how navigation is, and then I'll do Command F to find things. I very rarely will straight up read what like top
That's
down. Fair. But yeah, it's for reasons. All right, so we need Svelte preprocess. What else is there? What about UI? How do we control the UI? Do they have like a UI system that we use their things? Views. You see where it said views? Yeah, that. Okay, so they have their own thing, so we'd extend it. Okay.
Yeah.
So that means that we don't have to worry too much about style. That's what I was Like me and CSS, we don't like. I can do it, but I don't want to. That's why I was like, well, how much effort is this? So far, this seems nice because they have their own UI elements. We could just extend it, which makes life easy.
I love that. I think that's great. Okay, so we've got the project. We're gonna do Obsidian. We're gonna do a plugin. So here's the question, because there's two kind of ideas that I have here, and I'm curious about your thoughts. Idea number one is that we could build an extension totally separate that's not actually related to using either OneSignal or DevCycle, but integrates the two tools into whatever the plugin that we're building is. So like we use feature flags to build it or whatever. The other side would be that we build like a OneSignal integration and or a DevCycle integration and kind of use the tools. So like, but I don't honestly know what that would look like. Like what valuable integration would come.
Does it have to be valuable?
I don't think it has to be valuable. I mean, where the point here is just kind of build. Well, no, I feel like there's something I'd love for somebody to actually use the thing that we're building. Not that they need to, but I feel like if it actually scratches an itch, it would be very interesting for me anyways.
Okay. That makes it harder. That's why I was asking. That's why I'm asking.
Fair.
Like if it has to be valuable, that makes it a lot harder. If we're just doing something, which I'm always down to just do anything. That's a lot easier. Let's spend some time thinking about what it is that we could do, because at the end of the day, Obsidian is a text editor. So like we got to think about like what kind of benefits can Obsidian get from, I guess, feature flagging, which I understand from their standpoint, but this is open source product, so it's like, I don't know if that is as important. But yeah, we'll see.
I'm gonna install it. I actually don't even have it on my device.
You don't even have it? Oh,
I don't even have it.
What have you been doing in life? What do you use Notion? That's what it is.
I've been using Notion. In fairness to me,
I'm not judging. I'm not judging you.
When Obsidian came out, Obsidian was many moons ago.
Yeah.
It was not the platform that it is today. It was nowhere close to what it is now.
I feel like it's the same. It hasn't really gotten better.
Really? Okay, then maybe I
mean, like, not from what I like. I only use it for Markdown. Like that's really it. It's only for Markdown use. Now they have some other features that I don't use, but it's always had the plugin ecosystem, which means that it's very much dependent on what plugins you have. So unless you're using all of the core plugins, which to be honest, they still suck. Like recording, this is a whole other, I don't want to get into it's just like there's still some things that can be done a little bit better.
Okay, so here I am in Obsidian. It is in my vault. I can search, create notes. What do we got here? Graph view. I'm guessing that this is just, you can connect notes to other notes. We got our canvas view, drag from below. What am I doing here?
All right, I'm all right already. All right, we got to get you set up. Go to the gear icon. I can't have you using that whiteboard. It's on the left, bottom left.
Oh, bottom left. There we go.
All right, now go to community plugins. All right, and then go to you may have to accept something. Did you you see that? Turn on community plugins. Yeah, do that. And all right, click browse. All right, type. Oh, it's the first one, Excalidraw. Go ahead and install that. So you know how with Excalidraw Plus you have to pay a monthly fee for?
Yeah.
I need to make sure I'm not paying for it anymore. You can do it here, and because I use iCloud and I pay them money, all of that syncs. Okay, so you should have installed it now. Go ahead and enable it. All right, and you can close that. We can move on from that. And what you could do is do Command P. And type Excalidraw, and then you can say insert new drawing and wherever or that, and now you can have this, and you can do in settings, you can make this to where it like has your options and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, so now you get Excalidraw, and these are exportable. I want to say GitHub will render these now, if I'm not mistaken.
Really?
Don't quote me on that.
Right.
Don't quote me on that. For sure it'll render the SVG. But I want to say that like GitHub is now rendering stuff like Mermaid, which you just saw, like Mermaid JS, or creating diagrams. And when you look at the underlying file on this is basically JSON, or it's
Really?
just it's serialized. It's been serialized. Yeah. Here, in fact, here, do this. Right click on that untitled and then do show and finder in your browser. Yeah, on the left, the bottom one.
Where am I going?
Where it says so click Excalidraw. It'll expand down, hopefully.
Oh, reveal in Finder, yeah. And let me pull it over. It's on another screen. And then it's just this markdown thing here, hey?
Yeah, but if you open it, you'll see that while it is markdown, you're using Z. By the way, a former colleague wrote that. He built it.
Wrote Z?
Yeah, Nathan. I remember he was talking about it in 2019. I forget when it was. He was talking about he wanted to work on his text editor, and this was it. So it's like when I saw it came out, I was like, oh shit, he finally released it.
It's good.
I was all happy.
Have you used it?
I have, but I won't switch.
No, I won't switch.
This is where we come into, like, yes, the performance is amazing, but I don't care, because that's not why I use text editors in the first place.
That's fair.
So like a lot of the plugins that I use.
I love this. So this setup reminds me a lot of Editor.js. Have you seen this before?
No.
So this is kind of like Notion output, like same idea, but it outputs like this, right? So you basically are like setting all of these different data types, and then you can go into, does it actually give me the option here? Yeah, so you can go and create like an image, and then
what this is showing me is that people will latch on to bad ideas and do it because they see some other people doing it who've had some success.
So you think this is a bad idea to just have JSON, like these big JSON arrays?
Yes, it's a terrible idea. Like scroll up. All right, or down. I think that's where we're looking at. All right, notice you see anything repeated right there? ID type data, ID type data, ID type data.
Yeah.
All right, just do a quick thing. Open up your terminal. And then do like an actual terminal, a real terminal.
Oh, real terminal.
Yeah. And just type in like echo. So we're gonna echo something, and then we're gonna put in quotes type colon.
Type colon, like type colon, yeah.
And then close it, and we want to pass this on to another. So do the bar space bar pipe operator.
Yep.
And then space WC space -C. I want to say that should be, maybe try that. All right, 6 bytes. Just to represent that, and it's repeated. This is a terrible way to serialize any data. And this shows me that these, like, the people who are doing this are people who are probably only know JavaScript. And everything is a JSON hammer to them. So they're like, oh, let me just put it in JSON, which is a terrible way to send any data. Like, it sucks, in real talk. The only reason why it became popular is because it's easier for people who are on the web to deal with that than to actually deal with something that's truly, meant to be sent across the wire. There's a lot of wasted space here. A lot of wasted space. Imagine if you can send that same data, except you don't have to say ID type data every single time to represent something that we just defined. This is why tools like protobuf, or I don't know, other serialization formats exist. So JSON is only one step better than something like XML, in my opinion. And you see XML, what's the issue with it? Is it the verbosity?
I think so.
It's the same, it's just different.
It's interesting in here. So that all very true. Fair enough. I also find it very interesting. We were talking earlier about engineers throwing console log things into applications.
Do you see that right here? Is that what just happened?
Yeah. Like, are you not seeing? Well, not from that, but like, are you seeing all these like hydration not completed, but mismatches, initialized in production? Like, why am I seeing this? Like, this doesn't. I don't care.
These are likely uncaught errors. So one thing in JavaScript, certain thing like I don't know why, but you don't know if a function can throw an error or anything. And because of that, you may call a function and it could throw, and you don't have that in a try catch. So what's going to happen is that error just bubbles up until it eventually gets handled by, I guess, the client, the browser here.
So the bubbling up is fine, but like, why tell me this? Like, look at like this first thing on here. Like, why do I care? I mean, maybe I do care, but like a lot, like this information just seems.
I know what it
valuable.
is. It's so that when you have to inevitably reach out to their support, they can be like, press F12, and because you're not you'll see this magic stuff, and it's like, all right, what did we see? Give me the ID, and then they'll magically know things. I don't know, to be honest.
Fair enough. No,
but I can't talk because I know a lot of these things are just weird, right? Like they may not be getting it in their browsers. They may be using some other browser. We have these issues with OneSignal as well, with our JavaScript with the website plugin.
Yeah.
Where in certain environments, we get certain behavior, and other ones it doesn't. It's really weird. It's hard to deal with too. But I don't have a good answer for you for that, other than the support. Maybe it's for support.
Yeah, maybe potentially. All right. Sorry.
But as you were seeing, like with the Excalibur thing, it's portable, and that once you have that file, you should be able to just drop it into GitHub. Don't quote me on this. Yeah, or maybe you should do it and then quote me once if it works. But I would expect you should be able to just dump it into GitHub, and let's see.
And be able to see it.
You can create a gist. So if you copy the
content, that's right. Yeah. Okay, let me grab that. Oh, it's already over here. Where did I move that file over here already? I did. So let's copy this. And then let's go over to GitHub again. Let's create a Git.
It's just .github.com. Oh, you could do it in the UI too. I didn't even know.
What's that? All right. And then let's see. Do I actually have to create?
You have to give it a name.
Hello.
That's the description. Yeah, there you are. The second one is the name. It's really weird. They haven't put any effort into. It's almost like an abandoned product, to be honest.
There we go.
And click that preview. Let's see if it previews.
Nope.
All right. See, that's why you shouldn't quote me. I don't know. But one day it may do it, because there was a point when it didn't support Mermaid, and it does now. There was a point where Python notebooks weren't supported. They're supported now in GitHub. So maybe if Excalibur catches on, more people start to demand it, we'll get that rendering in GitHub. That would be dope, to be able to have like a rendering, not just a rendering, but one you can actually move and interact with on the site. That would be really cool.
Yeah. Give me 1 second, Will. I'm just dealing with some stuff for a conference shipping thing, and I just need to deal with this because my contact is going out of town. Did you print the labels from KubeCon?
For those of you who are watching, are there any open source applications, preferably that have plugin architectures that you all think would be worth considering? If so, please drop it in the chat. I would like to know. Actually, I think Figma could also be a good one. Let's see if Figma has.
Let me see. Pull another thing over here while Will's looking at we're going to KubeCon in Paris next month, and we are shipping a bunch of stuff there, and because in France there's very specific requirements for shipping stuff, and I shipped everything to Toronto to ship to France, and I need to make sure we've got all the right labels. Commercial invoice template.
I was thinking that you had to first ship it to Quebec. And
No.
then
Yeah,
only then
you'd think so, eh?
you can send it to friends.
They'll print shipping labels for your boxes. Here we go. Let me download this. All right, send this over here. And unreads and upload. I think these were included in there. Okay. Domestic before you ship. There should be smooth excellent. Ship early. Okay, she already did that. Okay, I'm just gonna send her this stuff. Okay. I think this was all in the email, but just in case, here is the stuff from the KubeCon website in case anything was missing.
I have an idea that I want to share when you're ready.
Give me 1 second. Here we go. Provide tracking information. No. Just say this and then pass username. What was my username and password? KubeCon. By the way, thanks for being patient, everybody. Address of customs broker. Yeah, I believe we are. So I thought I was going forward. So I thought I would be this. I think you are. Before you ship, ship early. Download print shipping labels for your boxes. International customs shares cannot act as an import-export. Click as you may either work with a customs broker of your choice. Enter customs clearance required. Customs clearance. International inbound shipments. Yeah, I think I did that. So that's the right location. Will serve material handling. Please review shipping materials rates above. Oh yeah, I did include that already. This is it. Oh, amazing. I think yours is going to the right place. That one I just shared is the generic one for all shipments. Sorry. Yeah. Oh yeah, download for international shipments requiring customs clearance. Yes. Yeah. Yep. Yours is right. Sorry, Will. The joys of streaming will also wanting to make sure this is right. Yeah, it should be enough time. Yep. That should be fine. I'm afraid.
So I will need to share my screen, I think.
All right. Let me you share share it.
And I may not be able to because
You should be able to do it on StreamYard if I get it open again.
No, we're good. Okay, all right. I meant mostly for me. From like, I normally don't allow
I
browsers
see.
to do anything on my machine.
All right. Do you want to share it?
Yeah, I think I'm sharing it. Do you see
Yeah,
it?
you're sharing now. Yeah, let me replace
Oh,
mine.
let
There we
me
go.
not.
Now,
Let me not do that.
now we can actually do it. And then infinite mirror.
All right. All right. So it's to do with Figma, right? So you've used Figma, right? Like the
I've definitely used
design
Figma
stick?
before.
All
Yeah.
right. So
Yeah, 100%.
here's what I'm imagining. I don't know if this exists or not, but designers will generally design something in Figma, and then they will hand it off to some engineer. And I think there's maybe there is a link between the two, but it would be kind of cool if you had some design, and then you can kind of go off and do other things, forget about it, and
Yeah.
then once that thing is actually delivered, then you can either get a notification and know that this thing has been delivered. But the thing that I really think would be cool is you can enable or disable that piece of UI from Figma itself, from the thing that you I don't know, like from the thing, right? So let's say you built a box. I'm not that creative, but you built a box and your engineer implements that box. Well, maybe it's implemented, but they're not really in control on when does it actually turn on. And sure, you can turn it on from the whatever the dashboard on DevCycle, but you could also turn it on from Figma next to your component. So it's like you could do like piecemeal UI, where it's like, you can turn off bits and pieces of your application, depending on how you see fit from that. I'm not saying we should do it. I'm just, it's just another one where I'm like,
all right, we're gonna add.
Figma.
We're gonna add Figma. We're gonna add Figma extensions to the Notion doc. Let me pull it up again. My Notion doc. Let's add Figma. I need to go to find the Figma extensions page. Figma extensions.
I don't know how I got to this. I think I'm on community.
Yep, there you are. All right.
Yeah, like just explore ways that we can use that. Or I saw you're using Linear. You can do something with that if you want.
I don't think
It's
Linear
not
has a
open
big
source.
extension ecosystem. No, they're not open source. I do love Linear though.
I thought they were extensible though, right?
It might be. See if they are.
I love Linear too, but then I switched back to GitHub when they
really?
introduced the new issues. Because I mean, it's let's just say that Linear wasn't worth $10 per user to me.
Yeah,
and
fair
I'm
enough.
already paying $7 per user for GitHub.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's not to say it's not a great app. I love it. I just don't love it that much to pay
Fair
GitHub and them. All right, so they have an API, which is interesting. Oh, it's GraphQL. Oh, gosh. They have an SDK.
Okay. Yeah, so there's some extensibility there.
Yeah, with webhooks. So yeah, we can also do that, I guess.
Oh yeah, they've got stuff at the bottom. Open source integrations, Linear importer, Linear Zapier integrate. Oh, that's the external integrations. That's them integrating into other platforms. I see.
But what this is showing me is, if you really want to make something useful to a bunch of people, like if we can figure out something to do with Linear, there are only two. I like to stand out in a small group. It's easy.
I agree, actually. That's not a bad idea. Like some sort of being able to trigger something through a Linear ticket.
You have to talk about the workflow, because we don't use Linear, unfortunately. We use Asana.
I mean, I wonder if I've got a project that's not going to dox our team that I can show.
No, I wouldn't. No.
No. I don't think it's going to. It's fine.
Okay. All right. I'll stop sharing it.
I've got lots of projects on the go. Yeah, anything in here that's gonna dox anybody? No, this is fine. Yeah, so I will close that, and I'll close that, and I'll close this. All of our teams are on here. Let me share my screen again. Yeah, so this is Linear. So basically it is, you have a team, and then within your team you have projects, and then your projects have statuses, and they can have tickets and things like that too. So as you progress, like you can basically like choose a ticket. So yeah, like a DocuSource plugin that we were working on. This is like an import that I brought over from Asana. So like you can change the status of
Oh,
things
y'all came from
here.
Asana.
What's that?
You came from Asana.
Our CEO really loved Asana, and our former VP of marketing really loved Asana. Our new VP growth, where kind of my role falls into, we at a previous company been using Linear. We'd switched from Asana, and it was fantastic. And we kind of did the same process at this company. But yeah, and so you can set priority levels, you can set assignees, you can set labels. So I'm sure if they have these integrations, you could probably do something where you set a specific label that is created in here. Like you can create labels for different platforms, or you can set a priority level, or you can set a status or something like that. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure there's ways to integrate. I think there's probably something there. If there's a Zapier integration, I think it'd be interesting to look at the Zapier integration and see how that works from Linear. And then that probably would show how to make API calls elsewhere, because all that integration would be doing would be making an API call from Linear.
I think I have something for you, maybe.
What do you got?
If you add a label, not saying to actually do this, but like we could add a label to like feature flag whatever thing, and then we can, I'm assuming that it's going to send a webhook event when a label is added to something.
Yep.
So we could respond to that event by creating the feature flag. I assume we could do that via the API on your end.
Yep.
And we get back the like an ID or whatever the thing is that we would need. A comment, like a bot would drop a comment in that issue with the thing, and then I guess I don't know if you can have buttons, or maybe we would have to drop a link where it's like when the feature is done and you're ready to enable it, there's a button that when you click it, it goes and actually enables the thing directly from within Linear, instead of you having to like go and track it down in DevCycle's thing.
Okay, I like it. Let's do they have integrations? There we go. Yeah, there's tons of integrations. Here we go. GitHub, Slack, Linear Ask, Discord, Range, Slab, that's awesome. Okay. I like that idea. So I think right now, create embed, I think our top 3 are Figma, Linear, Obsidian, with like
I'll put Figma below Obsidian.
You put Figma below Obsidian? Okay, let's put that there. I think Linear is cool. I think there's something there for the DevCycle side. What about on the OneSignal side in Linear? What do you think?
I mean, I don't know. We can implement a text if you want to get a text message, I guess. We could do that. Linear already has notifications, so there's no need. It's desktop notifications, so there's no need for that. Email, I think Linear also handles email. The only
it does, but SMS. Not. It only sends notifications to like specific people. So like there's no ability to there's limited ability to control who sees something. Text message thing is kind of cool. That's an interesting angle,
I suppose.
to be able to send. I mean, there's something interesting there if you create a feature flag in the system that it's going to notify the owner of whatever that project is that you're in, or that team, that a feature flag has been created. I
would do it more so like that the thing has been enabled. So let's say that you're someone who because that's unlikely to change, and the text messaging you don't want to send a bunch.
True.
That'll be spammy. So maybe it's something like that where it's like this feature has been enabled. I don't know. I'm just throwing something out there because there's not much room for messaging. Although I'm also of the opinion that it doesn't have to incorporate messaging. Right? Like we can, but it doesn't have to.
Okay. Let's play around with the Linear thing. I'd be interested even I don't think we're gonna start building today, but I'd love to let's go poke around and see if there's some of these integrations are open source that we can kind of dig around into that might be relevant for us. Okay. Yeah, let's look at one that might be relevant here for doing something, not just creating an issue. Trigger.dev, full control of linear directly from your code base, test management, detailed issue reports, Rootly, manage incidents from Slack and auto create in linear. Oh, I guess they're categorized here. Hey, engineering, bug reporting, customer experience, analytics, media and design, automations, security and compliance, linear crafted.
None of these apply to guess what we would be doing.
I don't embed scripts. No, it's like we're wanting to use linear to control things elsewhere. There's a bot that holds onto your blocked issues. Support N8N. Make code reviews easier by syncing your pull requests. These are all workflow. What about in the engineering stuff? Maybe there's something in here. Manage and automate your team's mobile releases. What does this plugin do? See issues alongside commits, PRs. Once you've connected linear in Runway using Runway's linear OAuth app, you select which team's tickets should be pulled into Runway and specify within linear to. Okay, I mean, this is talking between them. Is this open source though?
This Runway team.
Oh,
it didn't pop out. That's interesting.
Runway, linear press Runway, GitHub.
It's unlikely that they're open source. Most of these SaaS companies don't have open source products. Even GitHub isn't open source.
Yeah, which is it's so interesting. GitHub hosts all the open source, but they're not open source. Okay, which things do I know in here? These platforms are actually open source companies. None of those are open source companies. Netlify. I don't know if I might have it. DevCycle. I know DevCycle is open source. DevCycle linear plugin.
What are you looking for exactly?
I'm just looking for the actual source for any of these plugins so that I can get an idea of how they're working. But
it's unlikely that they're going to have that. They do, like, I thought I shared. There is a developer at the bottom.
Yeah, there is the one from where was that hiding? Developers, API, GitHub, and then I think you were right. They actually had a couple of the things in here. So like there's Zapier integration.
Yeah. So these are what they've created. So that might be the best like that we can do. I wouldn't expect partners to publish their code.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay, I mean, this gives us a starting point because at least we've got this to base it on. Linear import stuff, VS Code extension, connect VS Code to the linear API, VS Code open issue, Electron. What else is in here? Some of these are older repositories too. Yeah, that's it. That's all. So we basically have, there's Zapier integration, which is fine.
I'm going to assume that the integration is relatively easy because it's mostly calling their API. The part that I would expect to be a little bit more challenging is if it exports in the UI, which it may. Because I haven't used, let's be real, I haven't used Linear since before they were popular. And I use Asana, and not because I want to, it's because that's what my company uses. So I don't know much about it. Pages. Maybe, are they shipping a Next.js app? The hell?
It's an example file upload. I have no idea what this actually is.
Oh, they're using Next.js, the API endpoint, to handle the uploading. So I imagine that this is going to get deployed to the cloud somewhere. And there's probably another bundle that. Oh wait. Yeah, to me, it's not clear how does UI get into Linear, but that's just looking at the docs. It's probably pretty simple. Oh no, never mind. No, there's UI there. You see, index TSX. There's UI there. So maybe we ship them the bundle and they do some magic and they take the UI bits. So I imagine there's something special that we must export for them.
Yeah, I mean, hey, listen, there's something there. Okay, so I mean, I think this gives us a project to work on this year, which is kind of exciting. So, do we want to? We'll try linear. We'll build this sort of linear integration, and we'll figure out how these two things fit in. But I think that's a fun project for us to focus on this time around. Do we want to get a repo started? Should we create a repo and?
Not today. Not
today.
Yeah,
not today.
No, we should do it. I have a meeting in like I don't know, like 10 minutes. Wait, hold on.
10 minutes.
It may be. Let me check. Oh, it's not in 10 minutes. It's in 40 minutes now.
Still, you need to have a little bit of a break between this stream and the next things. So let's. I mean, we've got our plan. We'll figure out. Let's figure out when we're going to stream next. That's maybe the next question. So we should get on kind of a more consistent
next month
cadence. You want to do it in March? I
Yeah,
think that's a good idea because we are
we
2
don't have
days away.
Wait. How many days are there in this month? I thought there were only 28. They're 29.
No, 29. No, it's leap year.
I don't know. Did I ever tell you I don't know dates or time?
You have told me that before.
I wasn't lying. Like, I'm dead. I had to say it so that I know what day it is. Okay. Yeah. We could do in March, obviously. Wednesdays are my no meeting days, supposedly, but somehow I still have meetings on Wednesdays. I'm most free on Wednesdays. I'm also fairly open on Mondays. Tuesdays and Thursdays are absolute just no. I can't. Fridays can be tough depending on what time.
Okay, yeah, Fridays right now until I'm done teaching are rough for me. Wednesdays are fairly good. So I'm streaming sort of every other week, my Does It Toggle stream, so that's totally fine. So if we're looking a couple weeks from now, I've got a dev tool. Oh my God, that's coming up soon. So we could do the week of the 11th. One of the days that's in here, and I'm open to kind of figuring out a day. The other option would be in actually no, because I'm in Europe this week, and then I'm in Europe half of this week. So it's either we do this like next week, 2 weeks from now, or in April.
I'll let you decide. So long as it's a Monday or a Wednesday, I could probably make it work.
Let's just get it on the books now. Why don't we do Monday the 11th? Because I just have office hours that I do on Discord, but those can switch. And if people have questions, they can come on to stream. Do you want to do it earlier, same time? What works best for you if we did it on the 11th? That's 2 Mondays from now.
When you say earlier, you mean like earlier than today, or?
Well, so today we started at like noon my time, which I think is what, 2 your time?
Yeah.
We started at 2. Yeah.
Yeah, two is fine. 2:30 would be better.
Okay, 2:30 is better. Great.
Yeah.
So then why don't we do 12:30, and then I'll get it in for 2 hours in there, and collaboration. What did I call this? I had a name for this in here. I called it, DevRel Collaboration. That's right. DevRel Collaboration. DevCycle +1
The goal is to stand up a new repo.
Yeah, we'll stand up a new repo. We actually have goals this time. I like that we're expanding. We're becoming more focused. Even though our half-hour conversation at the start of this got real philosophical, we're gonna actually have a plan.
The people may love it though. We'll see. So yeah, we got to do this repo. We got to stand up a linear app instance as well as an app instance for DevCycle. And I think it'll be best to just get them connected. I think for 2 hours, that might be more than we can accomplish because there's a lot of unknowns. But
let's aim for that. I think that's a good process. So I'm going to get that on our official calendar. And then I'm going to create another event that I'll put into our calendar. Right. And we're going to call that Andrew and Will stream. And there we go. And I'll just leave that open. I'll just put that as a hold in the calendar. Save and send. There we go. Invite all guests. There we go. Should be in your inbox.
Yeah, I just got a notification.
Awesome. I'm feeling, well, I gotta say, considering we haven't started any actual code, I feel very good about this. I feel very good about this project. We will have a repository that does a thing involving one of our two companies by the end of this, or at least we'll have a series of videos with us messing around.
That's the more important one right there.
That's
I don't even think people care if things get finished.
Nope, I don't think they do either. I think they just like hanging out with us because we're awesome, and we're awesome people to hang out with. So I feel like it's the right decision.
Yeah, it's just we show ourselves doing something. That's kind of what I've settled on with my streaming. It's like it's just an excuse to stream.
Exactly. Just got to get out there, right? Just got to get out there and do something.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing. I'm so happy. These are honestly some of my favorite streams. Well, like I love jumping on and even just talking about things with you. So this absolutely makes my day. This is a great way to to make sure that the middle of my week gets a little bit better.
Well, I'm happy to have it, and I'm like we will be doing more. So
yeah,
see what we can accomplish.
Right.
Even if we don't accomplish could be more than just do we build it. Maybe do we get new people who are interested in whatever it is that we're doing. I think isn't that really the point of DevRel?
Exactly. Yeah, it's just to get people excited about building, right? And if they want to use one of our tools, awesome. But I just want people building stuff.
You know, I'm gonna this is gonna seem a little weird. I think it could be great if people decide to not use our tool and instead try to go build it themselves.
Yes.
So they can realize that, oh, there's actually value here. It's like, yeah, you could go build it yourself. Because I think that's a very common rebuttal for a lot of developer tools is that why wouldn't we just build it ourselves? It's all right, we'll go see and go answer that question after you've gone through $100,000 or more in a quarter.
We're just about to release a marketing campaign that's focused on stop trying to build feature flagging in-house because it's so hard and people end up hitting a big wall when they do it. So but you're not wrong. I think people should still go and try it because I think the experience is half the battle.
Yeah, I think that's partially what we try to convince people on, but you can't convince them on that if they don't know it. You only know it until you do it and you really feel it. That's true. It's like when you're you wake up at night and you're just like, oh my gosh, why do I have that's when you really, really, really know it. But I'm happy to do more of these, and I'm glad that you're enjoying it. And hopefully the people who are watching enjoy it too. They're a little quiet, so I don't know. I can't tell.
It's all right. Nature of the DevCycle channel. Anyways, you've got a very active. You've brought some folks over from your community to our community, so I'm incredibly grateful for that. And hopefully we can return the favor eventually.
Oh yeah. Oh, now that I guess I can make an effort to try to stream on mine too. Next time. It's just effort. That's why I was
it does. It takes more work. And you know what? I will say, I love these kind of comments really make my day. I'm super excited. A casual economist, if you're still here, thanks for coming to these streams. It's pretty fantastic. I love that you pop in all the time and just kind of say hello. So absolutely fantastic.
All right. Well, with that, I suppose we will we'll call it here.
We'll call it for now. And we'll have a great rest of your day. Enjoy your meeting, and we'll see you on March the 11th. All right. And for everybody who's watching, thanks so much for sticking around with us. And we'll see you in 2 weeks as well. So have a great rest of your day. And we'll see you around the DevCycle and OneSignal communities. Bye, everybody.
Peace.